Hello everyone. Today's video is another Q&A video talking about a whole bunch of different topics, N-acetylcysteine, parasite protocols, detox protocols, binders, etc., etc. They're just a bunch of rapid fire questions today, just trying to get through a bunch of them. So as per usual, nothing I'm saying should be construed as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. If you need medical advice, please talk to your healthcare provider to get that advice. So the first question is, I posted a video some time ago on blastocystis hominis, which is a parasitic infection. And there's a question, are there herbal mixes that a person can purchase to treat blastocystis hominis? So we only sell products to our patients, so there's no like online thing that I sell, but just thought I'd quickly mention a couple of the formulas that I use for treating blastocystis hominis and other parasites in my practice. Now, as a quick little side note, as I would have mentioned in that video, there is debate as to whether blastocystis hominis is actually a clinically relevant parasite overgrowth. There's some folks say yes, definitely. Other folks say no. The research literature is mixed. I personally think that it is likely relevant in some patients, but I don't have any definitive evidence saying that's definitely the case. But I think that it's something worth paying some attention to anyways. The reason I say that is because I've had patients who, we do they have digestive issues, maybe other symptoms as well. We do all the testing, and the only thing that comes up is blastocystis hominis, and we treat for that, and they feel better, and then the blasto doesn't come up on the follow-up test. So that would suggest that we're probably seeing some clinical benefits from treating the blasto. Now, it is possible that we may have been treating some other parasite that didn't come up on testing, because parasite testing is notoriously inaccurate, and maybe the antiparasitics that I put the patient on were actually treating something else inadvertently, and that's why they felt better, and then their microbiome was better, so the blastocystis hominis went down to normal levels that were undetectable, as they, I believe, should be on most stool tests. So it is possible, but anyways, I'll leave it there, but that's why I said the things that I said. So one of the formulas that I really like a lot, and I have no financial interest in any of these companies or any company, is a product called Parasite. It's made by a company called Alpha Science Laboratories. I'm not sure if they're based out of Canada or not. Actually, I don't really know, or if they're like a North American wide company. I'm not really sure, but they have a really nice blend of a lot of different herbs, a lot of very obscure herbs that most folks have never heard of before. At least I had not heard of until I got this formula, and I really like it as an option for treating parasites. The other formula that I work with regularly is called dysbiosis formula. It's sold by a company called Signature Supplements, based out of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, my home province, and it is equal parts of wormwood, black walnut, and grapefruit seed extract. So a little more traditional anti-parasite formula, also good for yeast, large intestinal bacterial overgrowth, can sometimes help with SIBO as well. And so those are a couple of my go-to formulas. And then whenever I'm treating parasites or suspected parasites, I always put my patients on Mimosa pudica. That is sold by a couple of companies, Supreme Nutrition being one of them, and then also Cellcore. They have a product called Para One, which I believe is just Mimosa pudica. It's just their brand name for it. So those are some of the products that are out there. So obviously not giving any advice, telling anybody to take them, but those are some of the products that I use that folks can purchase if they are so inclined. All right, so the next one here is, so I posted a video about intravenous NAD versus intravenous ozone, which one is better? And so someone posted a question, is it safe to do them if you only have minor lack of energy and weakness in neck muscles? So obviously that's going to depend on the individual case, but with IV NAD, as I say in the video, I don't really see clinical outcomes from that, so I don't recommend it for my patients. In the realm of like energy boosting and things like that. A higher dose IV NAD, to my understanding, can be really helpful for folks who are recovering from addictions. That's not something I specialize in, so I just have heard about it at lectures and whatnot, and so evidently it can be really, really helpful. But for like energy boosting, that type of thing, I rarely see NAD make really any difference at all, unfortunately. IV ozone can be really helpful, and I mean, in terms of safety profiles, I mean, NAD and ozone, like ozone's incredibly safe, as long as there are no contraindications to using it for a given case, like low platelet count or uncontrolled hyperthyroidism. There's a couple of like just obscure contraindications to IV ozone. IV NAD generally, to my knowledge, very safe to work with. So wouldn't be any contraindications for minor lack of energy and weakness in neck muscles in general, but of course that have to be individually prescribed for person in question. Next one is on. So a question about Methylene Blue, our good friend Methylene Blue. So curious about Cymbalta, which is an SNRI. Would this be the same with regards to Methylene Blue in terms of maybe being contraindicated? So SNRIs are serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors. So they do boost up serotonin levels in the brain, and so there would be, in my practice, I would have caution with prescribing Methylene Blue to someone on an SNRI like Cymbalta. As I've said in other videos, to my understanding, being on an SSRI or SNRI is not necessarily an absolute contraindication. It's more of a relative contraindication. It's definitely something where if I have a patient on one of those medications, I'm like really cautious, and usually look for other alternatives to Methylene Blue, just because of that concern about serotonin syndrome. But it's something where I have patients who are taking supplements or pharmaceuticals that are boosting up serotonin, and we are working with Methylene Blue just at very low dosages and going up very gradually with those just to make sure it's safe, or not, they're not flaring from it, I should say. But that's something that's very nuanced and definitely something to talk to a healthcare provider about. But there is that concern with Cymbalta and Methylene Blue. Next one is. So I posted a video a long time ago now. It's called Giving NAC to Kids Who Can't Swallow Pills. So the follow-up question is, how long should it take to clear up mucus? My daughter is 10 years old and has a tablet in the morning and a tablet in the morning. I think they are 750 milligram tablets. It depends. It can, in my experience, NAC, historically, like in the pre-COVID days, it would work really quickly. It was fast. And in the post-COVID days, it does not work nearly as well. I personally think because there are spike proteins kicking around in our bodies in the wake of COVID. Some compelling evidence out there suggesting that it can take up to 2 years for spike proteins to clear from the body. So I personally think that there are probably elevated spike protein levels in a lot of us, and maybe accounting for why there are certain health differences in a lot of folks in the post-COVID world that we find ourselves in. So that's my little pet theory on that. But it can vary. I find sometimes NAC just doesn't work at all for folks nowadays, and then it still does work, but it usually takes longer. Whereas it used to maybe take like 1 to 3 days to start seeing changes on average. I'd say now it's more like maybe 1 to 2 weeks, give or take. So it can take a little bit of time. And let's see here. Another question is, would it be potentially dangerous for someone to take a binder like charcoal while also taking a biofilm disruptor? Generally, no. There's not any dangerous interaction there, to my knowledge. We just have to be careful with timing, because we generally want to take biofilm disruptors away from everything. We generally want to take binders like charcoal away from everything, and then therefore we want to take them away from each other. And I've had patients who sometimes come to see me who've been prescribed these really elaborate protocols by other clinicians, and they say, like, I just don't know how to consolidate all this because there are so many moving parts, and I can't take this one, this and this and this. Like, I have to take different supplements, at 6 or 7 or 8 times a day, and so it can be it's logistically dangerous, needing to balance a lot of things, because then there maybe be other supplements as well that will be taken away from those things too. But there's no inherent danger in those being combined. Next question is, I posted a video a little while ago called High Dose Creatine, Potential Benefits and Is It Safe? So it says, what would a high dose be? Is it just anything over 5 grams? So that's what I would say. I'd say where 5 grams has been a standard dose for a long time. So anything above 5 grams, I would say, would be considered high dose in my books, at least. I mentioned in that video where some compelling research going up as high as 10 to 20 grams per day, and I think that's really compelling. And I've been working with that with my patients, and I'll maybe post a video on that at some point. I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope this was of interest. If you don't mind taking a quick moment to please like, share, subscribe, and or post a quick comment on the video, I'd really appreciate it. So thanks in advance for taking a second to do that. And if you have any questions or comments on any of these topics or anything else, just post in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer as soon as I can.